Hello and welcome, I'm Andy Richmond. This is the Big Match Preview brought to you by NFL Insight, and here we're taking a look at the Vikings and Steelers clash. We'll be covering some of the betting markets, reflecting on previous games between the two teams, how they have started the season, and also taking a look at some of the important tactical elements within the game before we round out the preview with a small sample of our live match trading statistics, which form the basis of a lot of our trading decisions and strategies on Sunday night when we'll be trading this game live in our trading room. Let's take a first look at the game. Of course, this is part of the international series and will take place in London at Wembley, although it's actually classed as a Vikings home game. Here we take a look at the initial prices on the game, which, despite their poor start to the season, sees the Steelers as favourites. Although perhaps if you compare them to the NFL Insight Master Tissue, you can see they're a little shorter than they should be, and there might just be a little bit of juice in the Vikings price. These prices are produced by profiling hundreds of similar games, in this case 958 similar games, to calculate these numbers, and just in games of similar strength and structure. And in this game we would expect the first points to come from a Pittsburgh touchdown 34% of the time. That would equate to around a 2-to-1 chance. That price is actually available in the markets at the moment, but having those figures available gives you a handle on what the real price should be in the market. Conversely, if anything, the 9-to-4 top price on a Vikings touchdown being the first scoring play is too short. We make those odds much nearer a 3-to-1 chance, so you've got a great comparative tissue there. All of these prices are available via our trading sheet, so that you can compare a real price based on hundreds of similar games. You can see we've looked at 958 similar games since 2000 in this particular sheet to see what you're being offered in the marketplace. So you've got a tissue in your hands. They could prove incredibly useful if you were betting or trading on this game, giving you a real price. Let's move on. We'll take a look at the prices that are on offer on the Matchbook exchange first. It's well worth a look as an alternative to BetDAQ and Betfair. Great liquidity on there, good coverage of the NFL. On the money line with Matchbook, the Steelers are 1.78 favourites, and despite being 0-3, there appears to be more faith in the Steelers. That's probably based on their past records rather than this season, where both teams have looked equally moribund and torpid. Similarly, on the handicap, the Steelers are asked to give away a token point. That really doesn't affect the price too much. Although, as you would have noticed from our early assessment of the game, we would give the game a -2 point line in favour of the Steelers. So the -1 they are asked to give up here is possibly a little bit of slight value. Finally, on Matchbook, we take a look at the match points line. That's set at 42. That line looks a little bit on the low side, given that both sides have leaked points this year. Minnesota's the most with 96, but the odds makers are probably considering the fact that this will be a strange field for both teams and that they may take time to get going initially. I thought the line looked a little bit low, given the two defensive backgrounds this year. 42 probably gives you a little bit of scope, especially if there's an early score, which there could well be in this game. Let's reflect on how the season how these two sides have fared against each other in the past, and how the season has started for both of them, which could be summed up in a word, which is badly. Since 1962, the series is actually tied at 8-8, but the Steelers have taken the last three contests. This is the first meeting since October 2009 at Heinz Field, when the Steelers won 27-17. Both sides went into that game in far better shape than they enter this. Let's deal with the Vikings first. It's a bit of a nightmare. 0-3. They've given up 400 yards plus per game, and after two divisional defeats on the road, they slipped to a very crushing home defeat to the Browns, who haven't been in the greatest shape themselves, and that leaves them 0-3 and really looking down the barrel of a gun to even get anything out of this season. Similarly for the Steelers, they are struggling offensively with injuries, although they do get a couple of players back this week. Two home defeats and a road loss to the Bengals. They're actually 0-3 for the first time since 2000, when under coach Bill Cowher, who preceded Mike Tomlin, they actually finished that season 9-7, but they did miss the playoffs there. So there's hope for the Steelers, but I think they're in a pretty tough division this year. Let's take a look at the opposing sides, how they'll approach the game, and what they need to get right to post their first victory of the season. I'll start with the Steelers. It's not so much a question of fixing anything on the defence, but more a question of being more aggressive and more like the Pittsburgh D that we have come to expect. The terrible offensive performances haven't left them in many good situations, but the fact remains they are yet to force a turnover this season, and the Steelers D used to thrive on those. The defence has looked soft for a while now. They need to step up and be far more aggressive here if the Steelers have any chance of winning this game. The last team without a takeaway in the first 3 games of the season was the 2005 Houston Texans. They finished the season 2-14, so the whole Pittsburgh defence needs to start working on that area of the game. Another area that needs to improve is the offensive line. Ben Roethlisberger, the Pittsburgh quarterback, was sacked 3 times against the Bears, which made for 10 sacks this season. That puts him on pace to be sacked 50 times. His ageing body will be lucky to take that, and we all know he's a little bit injury prone. Even when Roethlisberger wasn't getting sacked, he was pressured and hit, and Pittsburgh must do a better job of protecting him. The one bright spot against Chicago is that their run blocking was better, and the return of Le'Veon Bell, their rookie running back, I'll touch on him later, means that they may be able to move the ball better on the ground and not only use the run game to move the ball, but also to give the defence some time to rest and decent field position to work with. If the Steelers have a star man to work with, then it's wide receiver Antonio Brown. Last Sunday he had 196 yards and 2 TDs from 9 receptions, and there's no doubt that for the Steelers to win the game, they need a big game from Brown, who was seriously impressive against the Bears, especially on his first 2 Ds. Go back and take a look at those. He exhibits some really good career skills. It was a career day for Brown. He deserves serious plaudits, and the Vikings will need to keep a close eye on Antonio Brown. If you don't have or keep losing the football, it will cost you. And the Steelers' ball security this year has been woeful. A repeat of the Bears' performance where they lost the ball 5 times cannot be tolerated here. And keeping the ball safe in possession is the one key thing that the Steelers need to do here to even have a chance of winning the game. Last week the Steelers also seemed to find something resembling a running game, and that must continue, not only to add balance to the offence, but also to keep the chains moving, and the situation looks like to be helped by the return of rookie running back Le'Veon Bell from a pre-season injury. Bell's return means that the Steelers finally have on the field the player they pegged to be their future at the running back position. Granted, Bell, he won't be an every down back this week. His injury is one that can be re-aggravated easily, and there's little reason to take a major risk, but at least it's having another key player on the field which might lift a slumping offence. A running back alone is not going to fix everything that ails Pittsburgh offence, however, but if Bell plays well against the Vikings and for the rest of the season, it surely had that ripple effect on the rest of the field that they need to do. Bell's not going to be a magic wand, but it does give them a player that they do need back. It also gives Ben Roethlisberger an option out of the backfield. He's also good at catching passes as well. It just gives him an option. If Bell stays healthy, the Steelers have a workhorse rusher, even if he doesn't get many touches in his first ever proper NFL game. Now, what about the Vikings? What do they need to do to be competitive in this game? First of all, they have to secure better play from their quarterback Christian Ponder. That's if he's fit to go, as he suffered a rib injury last Sunday against the Browns. And that could be the out that head coach Leslie Frazier, who's also under pressure, has been looking for. Since the Vikings signed veteran Matt Castle, he's been adamant that Ponder is the starter. Even after opening the season with only 2 touchdowns and 5 interceptions and a 65.9 passer rating, Frazier has stood behind his quarterback. Now that a rib injury that might prevent Ponder from playing Sunday would allow Frazier to make the switch without going back on his word. And Castle might exactly be what the Vikings offense needs to infuse just some energy into it. So watch that situation develop throughout the week. Last week against the Browns, third string quarterback Brian Hoyer, the Vikings gave up 306 yards passing. Things don't get easier when they face Ben Roethlisberger. The Vikings' pass defence has been horrendous, and it has taken a couple of more hits. In the Browns game, starter Chris Cook left the game with a groin injury. His replacement AJ Jefferson left the game with an ankle injury. They also lost starting safety Jamarcus Sanford to a hamstring injury. So behind the leadership of Roethlisberger, the Steelers have the 10th best passing attack. And I already mentioned Antonio Brown, who can cause them real problems. They've only scored 4 touchdowns through the air. And the Vikings defence has done one thing, pass defence has done one thing well, it's intercept passes. They have 5 interceptions already through 3 games. Last season they finished just with 10 through the entire season. If the Vikings are to turn things around, they will have to continue that trend in London. So far this season, Roethlisberger has thrown 4 interceptions. In 2012, he only threw 8 all season. So although the pass defence has been horrendous, giving up yards, they do have the chance of intercepting the ball, and that will be a key. if the Vikings are to disrupt the Steelers' passing attack, they must get to Roethlisberger on a regular basis. That means Jared Allen, who's been very disappointing, needs to step up on that area of the game and create far more quarterback pressure than he did against the Browns. In that game, he had 52 pass rushing opportunities, creating one quarterback hurry, just one. For someone of Allen's ability, that is appalling. Allen's got to do better on Sunday to stop the Steelers and Big Ben having time to throw the football. The offensive line was one of the big reasons for the success of Adrian Peterson last year. This year, his blockers simply are not doing the job. He finished 9 yards shy last year of that all-time rushing record, and that means it's the most basic cog in the Vikings offense is falling down and drives are stalling. They cannot get anything going if that offensive line doesn't clear holes out for Peterson. He needs, as much as he's talented, he needs that offensive line to function far more effectively for the Vikings to have a chance in this ball game. Both sides need to run the ball well to have a chance in this game. Finally, what the Vikings have been lacking most is a killer instinct. For the second week in a row, it came down to needing a touchdown. They came away with a field goal and lots of drives. And put simply, the Vikings are just not ending drives in a ruthless and efficient manner. That could be down to quarterback play. It could be down to that offensive line again. Field goals, that's all they've been getting. They keep the scoreboard ticking over, but they don't win you games. I mentioned at the top of the show our exclusive trading stat sheets, and these have lots of information about how the sides have responded in certain situations before and how often they go on to win a game in certain situations. They give you a great guideline and a price to compare with what is on offer from the bookmakers at the time. These trading sheets are based on hundreds and hundreds of games. Again, it's over 900 games we're looking at here to actually get the basis for these games. You can see what the true prices should be in following situations at half time, and we also take a look by comparing games of a similar nature how likely situations are to happen throughout the game. So we've got all situations covered, and especially for our live trading room on Sunday night when we have the ability to predict live tissue prices throughout the game and how likely statistically certain outcomes are to happen. Here you can just see a couple of set points in the game, but here you can see 3 points either way in the game. It should be around even money on the two sides, so it'd be interesting to see if there are just 3 points in the game where the prices are. And similarly, it's around a 6-4 chance that either side will lead by between 4 and 9 points at some point in the second half. Those prices can also be useful to you if you're trading the game. These statistics, as I say, are a small taste of the cornucopia of data that we have available in those sheets, which are exclusively available via NFL Insight, and the live updates are available in our trading room on Sunday nights. It gives us a much better way not only of assessing match situations, but also comparing the odds that are available at an instant. Again, these match previews are a small part of what we do at NFL Insight, and you can be sure to make sure you keep up to date with all the latest ones by subscribing to the NFL Insight TV channel via YouTube for all the latest previews. And I'll be back soon with further match previews via that particular outlet on all the big games that we have in the NFL, and it's something we're really looking to improve and scale up throughout the seasons. Make sure you also check out our betting focus previews via the www.betting-insight.com site, which takes a look at all the best betting opportunities on the games once we've taken all these tactical factors into account that we've given you in this preview. Come along and get involved with us at NFL Insight for all your NFL previews, statistics, trading views and betting advice. NFL Insight is at the forefront of a new way of looking at and betting on the NFL.